The game is mine. The game is mine. The game is mine.
Now, like I said at the onset of the show, you know, I'm right here with an esteemed guest, an ambassador for the Obama administration. Yeah. Now, I got to let y'all in on something. This is not exactly my first time meeting Miss, Abercrombie-Winstanley right here. You know, I met her actually at a Negro Conference of National Conference of Negro Women.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
Got it pretty well.
Okay, yeah. Now, they were a bunch of ladies, influential trailblazers, women that's doing big things in the community. And Gina right here was one of them that got honored. Now, Gina, can you care to expound what it was that you got honored for that night?
Yes, well, it was for my return to the great city of Cleveland.
Okay.
And my commitment to supporting the community. So I have taken a number of young people on as mentees and providing career advice. And for my long-term public service as a diplomat traveling around the world representing the United States, that culminated, of course, in an ambassadorship under President Barack Obama.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big, because you get to become a conduit of the president's agenda.
Absolutely.
That's a big, heavy responsibility. But I want to start at the beginning, Gina. Can you, what schoolhouse did you attend? Not high school, but college. You know, where did you attend college?
Okay. I left Cleveland and went to George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
Why is that?
I thought I wanted to go into politics, and of course Washington is the center. There you go.
Politics.
Okay.
Your perspective.
Fair enough. Yeah. So started with that, and then went into the Peace Corps. Got interested in international affairs and America's influence and impact on the rest of the world. So I had my first overseas experience. Loved it. Loved that ability to show American values, all of them as an African-American woman, to make clear to the world that America looks like the entire world. We come from everywhere. And then from there went into graduate school at Johns Hopkins University and then into the diplomatic corps.
So tell me, that leads me to believe that you were heavily involved in current events coming up in high school. I was a political scientist in high school. I always scored good grades in political science, and I like to stay up on worldly affairs. I need to stick with that regimen, you know what I mean, best as I can.
Yeah.
Were you like that?
No, I think you were better than I in high school. I was having a good time in high school.
Okay, so how did things change? Because to want to be a world traveler and lead you to become this diplomat, you know, you have to stay abreast to the thing. You got to know what you're talking about. You can't land in them other countries and disrespectful. You know?
Yeah,
so,
it's very true.
How did it, convert over to that?
Well, I think a number of things. Number one, I was raised to believe, my father particularly made the impact of, as an African American, that I came from the strongest stock in the world.
Okay? Better say it.
That those who were not as strong, those who could not survive and thrive in this country, were at the bottom of the ocean. Our ancestors made that middle passage. So I had to believe in myself and my ability to accomplish whatever I wanted to accomplish. Okay?
So history influenced you? That was a little bit of
a little bit of that, and just a solid upbringing, and then finding my passion, which is travel, which is making connections with the other. And I try, whenever I'm speaking to young people, urge them to find that passion, because I was a mediocre student. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very popular with parents sometimes because I say I was a C student, sometimes not a C. And when I found my passion, then my grades immediately went up to an A, and I began to excel.
I think that needs to happen for a lot of people. I think a lot of you young people out there need to find a passion and get into it, because then your life will begin to excel.
Absolutely.
That's a great lesson.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, Malta.
Yeah.
How did that Qaddafi come about, where you end up being a diplomatic representative of the United States in correspondence with the government of Malta?
Yeah. I am not an European specialist. I'm a Middle Eastern specialist. So most of my career was in Saudi or Egypt, Tunisia. But Malta is situated in southern Europe and halfway between Libya and Italy.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like a mixed
Exactly.
type of thing
Yeah,
going on.
everybody
Wow.
went through Malta over the years. And at the time, the Arab Spring had just happened, and the Department of State wanted a Middle Eastern specialist there.
Can you explain what that means? Because I've heard of that, and I've got my own interpretation, but to hear it from a U.S. diplomat,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, they wanted someone there who was aware of and skilled in politics of the region. And though Malta is part of the European Union, with Tripoli, with Libya being so close and war breaking out, as you know, we lost an ambassador in Libya.
Yeah, you had the Benghazi raid.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So someone who understood that, because many Libyans traveled to Malta, there were negotiations going on in Malta, and we needed to keep a close eye and one that was informed on Libya. So that's why I was told that was where I was going as ambassador.
Now, that's interesting you say that, because Libya, we all know what happened during Mr. Obama's term in office, that Colonel Qaddafi was killed.
Yeah.
So did you know, first of all, did you know it? Of course you knew about Colonel Qaddafi. What was your personal opinion outside of your business dealings with the United States? What was your personal opinion about Mr. Qaddafi?
Well, like so many leaders from the region, he had an interesting history. As you know, he studied in the United States. At one point, he was a liberation leader, as so many who started off with the right ideals for their country to be free from colonialism, free to make their own decisions, and yet personal corruption entered into. And if you don't have a strong opposition, someone to help keep you on the path, that's exactly right, then it is too easy to get off track. And then the natural, I believe, brutality that he had was visited among his people. And he held them back from education, from technological, scientific advancement. So Libya had a very long way, still has, to come. And even after his demise and the government of national accord being in place, they have had so many challenges and a fair amount of outside interference, as we see in the papers today.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the footage when he was killed? He was killed right in the street. It was on a cell phone. Got shot right in the head, right on YouTube. Yeah. I don't think it's still there, but, that kind of hit me, because I remember, I remember everything, the good and the bad, but I do remember him with, setting up, trade between the black people in this country and the black people here in America through Minister Farrakhan. What did you think of those efforts outside of, your business relationship?
Yeah, well, anything that allows Americans to have a better understanding of the world, international politics, international relations, is a good thing. I mean, I think that's a good thing. He was a very complicated leader, but so many of them are.
Yeah, I'm not going to just put it on Gaddafi.
They good and they bad side.
Yeah.
We got a complicated leader right now, what I mean? That's just, and some people say we had a complicated leader before him, I think all leaders are complicated in some way. You can't please everybody. You just can't, Now, let me ask you, do you think Libya is better off now, or do you think we could have reconsidered some things?
I would not say that they are better off per se. What I will say is that if they can resolve some of these internal conflicts that are keeping them in a perpetual state of violence right now, aided or exacerbated, aggravated by outside actors, that they could be better off because they are a capable people like all other people. But until they can get through the violence that's happening within the country, then I'm certain that there are Libyans who might say, my God, we were better off under Qaddafi because at least we could go out and carry on our daily life. We did not have to worry about violence in the street. And that's the same issue with Iraq, that some unfortunately could rightly say they were better off before we got there.
Well, during your tenure there, tell me, you know, what was the underlining core values of the president's message that you were extending to the people of Malta?
To the people of Malta, and frankly around the world, U.S. diplomats were trying to make clear that our president was interested in partnerships, that we are not interested in controlling other nations, that we expected to meet people where they were and to work in partnership. That means equal responsibility. I think that was behind his efforts to get us out of Afghanistan, although they were not in the end successful and we're still struggling with that war. I think the two presidents are not very different in what they would like to do for U.S. forces, that we have been at war for nearly 20 years in Afghanistan is an extraordinary, too long, and we had examples before us. The Russians were there before us and failed in what they intended to do, and the British were there at the last century. And each of us, in the end, we're coming a cropper, as they say. We're not going to walk away from Afghanistan. Whenever we do come out, we are not going to be able to walk away with a sense of we went in there, we won, or we went in there and we accomplished what we wanted to do. It has always been a complicated, opaque place for Westerners, for Americans. We are not empire builders. And many people advised before we went, do not put troops on the ground. That is not a place that we want to be at war, and nearly 20 years later, here we are.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people were getting on President Obama for being the type to want to carry out diplomacy around the world and speak to some of our adversaries.
It's always better to talk than to
You know what, and that's what I was thinking when everything was going on. I'm thinking like, y'all don't want the man to talk, you know, to try to get through our differences, so y'all just want to be on a war footing.
Well, people make money at that.
Yeah, people make money at that.
Makes a lot of money.
Right. So you felt it really important to carry out that mission? Was it real important to you to really to convey the president's idea with that, to want to open up dialogue and say, I'm ready to listen?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly internationally, generally it was a successful way of approaching our partners, our adversaries, our interlocutors overseas. You can always get further if you're doing so from a place of respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was a privilege to be his representative. As Americans, we were never embarrassed by our president.
Yeah, he was a smooth fellow, stood tall and strong, you know, had the beautiful wife and the beautiful children. I don't recall not one scandal in office, you know.
No, they did not.
You know, I just don't recall that, you know. But tell me about the president when you first met him, you know, on a personal level. How did he receive you and greet you? Like he made
Well, I don't have personal stories to tell. I, as his representative, after I was selected and nominated and sworn in, I went overseas.
You went right overseas. No time to hire now. I didn't hire you to kick it with me in the White House.
That is exactly
You know, I hired you to get out there, and put out there what I need to be put out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
Well,
we had a great partnership with Malta.
So ambassadors work out of the State Department?
We work out of the State Department. We report to the White House via the Secretary of State.
Okay, I was just about to bring that. So you did meet Hillary?
Oh, yes.
Okay, what did you think of her? Before you even hooked up with her being this ambassador for the administration, what was your idea thinking of Hillary Clinton?
Well, she had long ago proved that she is an extremely smart and informed person. I think she had great ideas while she was Secretary of State. One of the most important things she did was set up the Office of Global Women's Issues. Many studies after study have shown around the world, when you take care of the women, you take care of the entire family.
Oh!
When you educate women, they see that their children are educated in a way that men do not, at a level that men do not. When you take care of the women, educate them, give them the economic strength and power to take care of their families, their home, their community, we will do it. And the United States was a leader in this, in educating women, particularly in science and technology, economics, etc., and we were helping other nations through our leadership. Hillary Clinton started that work.
I think you got a question, Gina.
Okay.
Mic check. Ambassador, I wanted to know what you think changed, because before, women over the years, they had a struggle with having seats in the White House and just getting their voices out there and things like that. So what do you think changed over the years to be able to have people like yourself as an ambassador, and being able to take care of the women, being able to take care of the families and things like that and make their own income?
A lot of fighting.
Soldiers!
Until 1972, as a woman, if you were a diplomat and you got married, you were required to resign.
What?
You obviously could not be a wife and work at the same time.
Wow.
Until 1972. And it took a woman refusing to resign. She said, where does it say in the regulations I have to go? And they said, well, it's expected you have to go. And she said, I don't think so. I don't think so. And with that, I don't think so, changed it for the rest of the women in the diplomatic corps. It took a lot of lawsuits, and keeping it in the courts to say, you must allow us. No, not you must allow us. We demand the opportunity to reach our full potential. And those struggles continue to this day. Too often, men and women don't see women naturally in leadership positions, and yet we lead every day, whether it's internally in our homes, when we're out supporting our families, in the workplace. We lead, and we lead well. So it takes self-confidence. It takes doing it not alone, because it's hard for one person to make a difference. We come together and we amplify each other's voices. And that was something that came up in the Obama administration. Even with someone as progressive as President Obama, the struggles continue. As my daughter says, Mom, the struggle is real. And yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Now, let me ask you a candid question, Gina. When knowing intimately what Hillary was about, dealing with her in the administration, when it came time for her to run for office, did you vote for her, or?
Well, I'm not going to answer
Okay,
that
okay.
question.
I tried. I tried it. Trick no
listen,
good.
I am about America.
Okay,
So
okay. Above all else, above
all
feminism,
else,
above,
country first, and then we work from there. So I'm going to tell you, I voted with the interest of our nation in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Miss Gina, I wanted to talk more about the Malta people. I've been to several countries around the world, but I've never been to Malta. So can you please give us some insight to the people of Malta, and what's their main thing? What's with them?
Yeah. Well, Malta, of course, is a very old country. It's mentioned in the Bible. It's where St. Paul charmed the teeth out of the snakes, so you can find it mentioned. It is a largely Catholic country.
Largely Catholic.
Largely Catholic, although it has been invaded by Arabs, by Turks, by British, by French over the years, and the Knights of St. John. So a lot of people. It's a very mixed population. Their language is Maltese, which is Arabic in the base with a lot of Italian thrown in. It has 300 days of sunshine a year.
So only 65 days of the BS, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's an island nation, so it's very beautiful. It's very beautiful. And Maltese like being in Malta. It's a beautiful place, long history.
Now, like in your conversations with the diplomats from that country, you know, were they receptive to your message, first of all?
Yes, I think much of the world, and certainly Europe, was very welcoming to the Obama administration after the Bush administration. And we do a lot of work with Europe. As I said, Malta is one of the nations of the European Union, like Germany and France and Britain.
Was it a lot of enthusiasm to work with your administration on one of the facts being that this was the first black president in the United States?
I think they were very admiring of President Obama.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes,
I wanted
okay,
to find
yes,
that out.
yes. I think most people around the world were. As I said, it was such a pleasure to be his representative. But we did not always agree on our foreign policy.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So whether it's the Middle East,
Yeah.
they were much more open to a balanced treatment of the Arab-Israeli conflict. There were other issues where it took real diplomacy.
Oh, so they wanted more balance with the Arab-Israeli thing going, like the
Yes.
settlements. They wanted more concrete work done in those areas?
More work to recognize the needs of the Palestinian people as well as the Israeli people. The reality is, you know, the United States supports Israel. We're on Israel's side, but we want a peace settlement that will work for the Israelis. And for it to work for the Israelis, it has to work for the Palestinians. If you have one side that's resentful, there's never going to be a successful peace. So
Well, there's been a struggle there with that for over 50 years.
That's
you know,
correct, yeah.
Why do you think it's still going on and hasn't been resolved?
I would say that there has not been enough courage among the leaders involved, that the way to a just, lasting, and comprehensive peace is known. It is going to take some territorial compromise
Yeah,
by
that's
both
what
sides,
I see.
and they haven't been willing to do it.
And it seems like, you know, United States just can't come in and say, okay, well, this settlement here, you know, we're going to zone this, we're going to do that, because the people has resentment towards it. That's what it seemed like to me.
That would be accurate.
That would be
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
Wow. You know. Okay. So how did you like your counterparts over there in the Maltese government? You know, how were you feeling them?
They were very good to work with. They were very good to work with, and they appreciated my effort as an American diplomat to learn the language. So I presented my credentials to the president in Maltese, which was very warmly received.
That was a requirement
It was
before
not
you
a-
even went up.
It was not a requirement.
Not a
because-
requirement. I'm on my job. I'm effective at what I do, baby. I bring results. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did it take you to learn the language, Gina?
I had a tutor for several months, and we worked on what I wanted to say and my pronunciation. And the president was delighted. He was terribly gracious, surprised, but surprised in the best possible way. And that's what diplomats do. We prepare, and you want to make a good impression. You want to start right.
So you learned the language,
Yes.
and of course you studied the background of the president there. So in your speaking to him in his own language, did you say something kind of, intimate that he could have picked up on, like, that's relating to his culture, maybe even his family, or his, how he conducts himself in his business?
Yeah, the presentation of credentials is a very formal occasion. I was required I had a hat. I had to carry...
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I wore a hat, and I was instructed on how to carry my purse.
Wow.
Yes, and how to carry my purse, which arm it had to be under.
Wow.
And they sent a Rolls Royce to collect me.
Yeah.
There were horses in front of and behind me.
Wow.
So it was very, very, very formal occasion, and then going to the palace to present the credentials.
Well, let me ask you, Gina.
Yes.
How did you reconcile that in mind? Because all around the world, the world is a ghetto. So you're still seeing ghetto-minded people where you were at, and they didn't care about what side they carried the purse on. So when you were trying to stay on point with that and you seen that, how did you reconcile that in the mind?
Easily, because protocol helps you get through things.
Okay.
I didn't need to fuss with it. I
Okay.
didn't even think about it, because I
Didn't
was
even
told
think
exactly
about
what to
what to
do
do.
with it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope. So he was very impressed with you speaking the language and bringing stuff up, and that just broke the ice.
Yes. Yeah. We had very good meetings when we met. Yeah.
Okay. Was any other particular areas besides Malta that you worked in, as you know?
I'd say Saudi Arabia was probably the most challenging.
Saudi
place.
Arabia.
Yes.
Why was that the most challenging?
I was the first woman to head up a diplomatic mission in Saudi Arabia. As you know, it's the most conservative place in the world with regard to women. It's only in the last year that women got permission to drive cars. To drive cars.
In the last year?
In the last year, yeah.
Wow, so you had a pretty tough going there.
It was a challenge. It absolutely was.
They hearing you speak, they looking in your eyes, they know you educated, know what you're talking about, know you sincere, but they still want to treat you like, you know, you got a ways to go.
Well, as a woman, yeah, they certainly did. There were times when, regardless of my background, the fact that I spoke Arabic fluently, that I knew a great deal about the country and was able to carry out our bilateral relationship. In some men's minds, I was a woman and therefore shouldn't have been there.
Did you ever get the sense, because everybody knows we kind of dependent on the oil from those regions in Saudi Arabia. So did you ever get the sense that they were cavalier about that and would use that as leverage? Like, I know you need from me, so hurry up and speak, and, you know, were they ever like that?
Not the government, no.
Not the
Because
government.
as a woman, as a brown person, people often ask me, you know, as an African American, how do you feel going to these countries? Do you worry about being accepted? And in the end, you know, I go as an American, and when I'm overseas in a way that's different from being in the States, I am an American first and last. I come with the full weight and power of the United States government behind me. So I didn't have any problems being female or brown overseas.
Well, I want to ask you too, Gina. Like, you know, you can meet these great people at establishments that's neutral, but then when you want to go deep in your relationship and get to figure them out, have you ever invited them to your own confines?
Oh, absolutely. Part of being a diplomat, part of an effective relationship, I think in any case, is that personal relationship. So we are required, part of my job is to host people for meals, for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, for cocktail parties, for concerts, to have these conversations. That gives the oil to keep things moving quickly. So when I needed something quickly from the foreign minister, I had his cell phone number, he had mine. I could call him up at any time of night or day if it was important to ask for what I needed. And that was partly based on the personal relationship we'd established. So as a diplomat, you've got to have strong interpersonal skills. You've got to be able to communicate respect and urgency and get the other person, the interlocutor, to want to help you. That's part of the job.
Well, in doing so and hosting these people, and you know, you want to be natural. You know, you would play music you like, or have your
Absolutely,
aides
that's
play
American
music.
culture. That's
Okay,
and we were introducing them to it. Yes, I started for Black History Month, African American History Month.
What was your playlist like, Gina? What was your playlist like? I want to know. Because did you have Jay-Z? Because Jay-Z, you know, President Obama was a big fan of Jay-Z and Beyonce. So.
Okay, well, I like to dance. Like
you want all that rap mess.
I certainly had a lot of dance music,
okay.
A lot of Broadway music, because I like to sing. I sing in gospel choirs. So I sang with the gospel choir while I was in Malta, and I brought a jazz artist.
With a gospel choir while you were there in Malta?
Absolutely.
So they were Malta.
There's more than one.
Wow.
Yes. And remember, it's a religious country, so
yeah,
praise music's popular.
Okay, so you set the mood.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to cover yourself. You have to bring your authentic self. So my predecessor wasn't in gospel music, but I made it work for me, and it was a way of connecting.
Well, how did you make it work when there was contentious discussions?
Respect. You know, recognizing that reasonable people are not always going to agree. the foreign minister from time to time used to say, "Oh no, here she comes," because and it did make me laugh because there were some issues that we did not agree on. But my responsibility as a representative of the United States was to get him to agree. So I had to bring it up and bring it up and bring it up again. And absolutely, stick to it. Yes, I am nothing if not persistent. Yeah.
Now, what was one of the main sticklers that Hillary was about running the State Department and sending her diplomats out abroad? You know, what was her main tenets of function? Like she would leave you with to go out.
Well, every ambassador gets a letter of instruction that gives us the background of what our responsibilities and our authorities are. Our responsibilities.
Who drafts that?
The letter comes from the Secretary of State to lay this out, and from the President as well. So my commission is signed by the President. And that letter of instruction lays out my responsibilities for the protection of American citizens. So, for instance, when I was in Saudi Arabia, as the Consul General in the Western region, there were 20,000 Americans living in that region, working for private businesses, defense contractors, and others. They were under my responsibility. Another assignment.
Private contractors?
Absolutely. So if you, as an American, go overseas, if you're going to be there longer than 3 days, I ask every American citizen to check in with the U.S. Embassy. Let them know that you're there. Because if you get in trouble, we got to come get you. Yeah, right, okay? Right. If you
That's
get
a good thing. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
If you get thrown in jail because you got drunk and partying.
That happened to me. I mean, I ain't get thrown in jail. I didn't have to call the State Department. I just had enough money in my pocket to let the federales let me go. His son? You tell me?
His son in North Korea, where he stole.
No, in China. Yeah.
China. Oh, yeah.
They had to get, the president involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
or ASAP Rocky.
If he would have went to the embassy, I'm pretty sure they would have knew he was there, and then they would have had to get the president.
Well, one thing that we do try and do for American citizens, if they're going to be there for a while, is to give a security briefing. And it's something that you can get even before you go overseas. You can go to the State Department website, and we will provide information about areas that you need to be careful in, what the rules are. Yeah. Because the same way if foreigners come to this country, we expect them to obey our laws, yes?
Yeah.
And we have the same responsibility. But when you get in trouble, it's the embassy that's going to try and get you home again, to get you out of trouble, to find you a lawyer, to check on you if you are in prison. We will visit American citizens.
What was the time like around the time of the Benghazi, thing that happened with that raid? Of course there was a death and we mourned the ambassador's death.
Chris.
I'm not making light of that. I'm saying what was the prevailing sentiment and mood around the State Department around that time?
Well, it was a terrible day. I mean, it was the anniversary of 9/11, so we were all on heightened security. Every embassy around the world had received a message from the State Department asking us to review our security, to make sure we had good connectivity with local law enforcement in case we needed help. So every embassy, including our embassy in Tripoli.
Well, I didn't mean to cut you. Did you ever feel like were your connections in Malta where they got to know you as a woman, as a person, and respected you and what you got going on? Did you feel like they wanted to protect you too, or did you get the feeling that you were left out there and you had to fend for yourself? Or
no.
I don't want you to throw your friends under the bus. I'm just saying.
I don't have to.
Okay.
No, they took very good care of me and our mission. They were very cooperative. My security officers had great contacts with local law enforcement, shared information, so that part worked very well. And of course, as you know, in my time during Saudi Arabia, my consulate was attacked by terrorists.
Yeah. So you were in office when that happened, huh?
I was. So I certainly have been in a situation when it doesn't work right.
Right. Yeah, you talking about the Saudi Arabia event where the drones attacked the...
No, this is when Al Qaeda terrorists attacked the consulate.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
And in fact, killed 5 of my staff.
Killed 5 of your staff?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. People that were your understudy, people that you...
Worked with, my driver, my personal driver. No, it was a horrible time to lose friends and colleagues in such a terrible way.
So, Gina, when you come back, and you come back from overseas, and you made it, and these people, family, you know, what did they say to you? Did they come up to you? Were they mad at you because their family wasn't still alive? Or, you know, can you tell me a little bit about that? I know it was a tough and rough time.
The day after, I went to every home to make a condolence call, to express my sorrow, and to be with the wives and families, because they were all men who were killed. I believe I communicated our sincere intent to stand by the families in this very difficult situation.
Did you get the sense that they wanted immediate retribution?
Well, that wasn't, I mean, we were in Saudi Arabia, so retribution or most of the terrorists were killed by the Saudis, you know, when they effected their rescue attempt. So that was already done. It was just, you know, for the families, it really was an economic impact as well. Those were the breadwinners of the family.
Yeah.
So that is when the U.S. government and oftentimes diplomats put money in the kitty if there's not enough money to provide a good insurance package. You know, they have benefits from the U.S. government, but there are also things that had to come from the Saudi government.
Oh,
so
okay.
we
Yeah.
worked with the Saudi government to make sure that those came through, and you know, to stand by the families until they could at least not be worried about the economic impact of it. I mean, losing your family member in such a horrible way, there's nothing to be said except I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm fathom that though. You know, we read about those reports, but Gina experienced that personally. You know, we read about the reports. You had to actually live that and speak with their families, and they were breadwinners, and you had to, you know, tell them and give them some hope into the future.
It's one of those things often as a diplomat you worry about, that people don't understand how challenging this work really is. Many people think diplomats are just going to parties all the time, but there are human lives on the line oftentimes. I have been on the front line. It's something that my colleagues who have testified in front of Congress were able to communicate. We are public servants. We serve America, and we are privileged and delighted to do so. And I personally believe it's really important that people who look like you and me are out there doing this work too. You cannot have America's representatives not looking like America.
So you were fearless in your duty?
I was prayerful in my duty.
I like that, Gina. Yeah, I understand that, you know, I understand what's going on, but, you know, I'm okay. All right, I get that. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back in a minute. Playa T, that's me, Hollywood in the Hood. Okay. All right, we back. Player T, that's me, Hollywood in the Hood. Yeah. I'm right here with Ambassador Gina Abercrombie-Winstanley. Yeah. I got big lips, so y'all got to bear with me. Sometimes the words get tangled up. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you know. Yeah. Now, Gina, you know, you've been abroad. You've been representing the United States in a spectacular fashion. You were there for your colleagues when they met a demise that was unfortunate. But you've come back home now. What did you bring with you back to the city of Cleveland with your experiences abroad?
I brought confidence and knowledge that people from this city have a lot to offer. I am just a Cleveland girl.
Okay.
I went to Charles Dickens Elementary School before I moved over to the Heights. That's exactly right. And it was just someone sparking my curiosity about the rest of the world that led me on my journey. Ohioans in general make great diplomats. We are really friendly people, and that's your first
down to
thing.
earth, real.
That's a
all the way real with it.
I don't know about too friendly. It's effective. It is an effective way to meet people and make friends. So we're good at diplomacy. And as I said, it is important that America's representatives represent America. So I am intent on just letting the rest of our youth know there is a place for us out there in the wider world. We have work to do, and we are capable of doing it.
And by doing that, you're doing it through youth mentoring?
Yes. So
Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I speak at schools in Cleveland, public schools, and I will continue to do so. And really, I'd like to get them in elementary school, but junior high and high school is good too, just so they start thinking, oh, I might want to be a diplomat. To even know, because so many things you don't even know about. You don't even know to ask questions or can I do this? And so having someone that looks like them talking about this amazing life and profession, I want people to start thinking about that. So getting people to think about it, getting people to know that what they bring to the table is absolutely enough. And, let's focus then on civics, on social studies, on world history, etc. Those are the basic things that you need. I also am very passionate about us taking control, having an impact on what happens in our lives. So I am going door to door on my weekends trying to register people to vote. Because even if you think, as I've heard too often, oh, it doesn't matter, my vote doesn't count, it doesn't make a difference who's president. Well, now we see it really does make a difference who's president. But even more importantly, those local issues, whether it's criminal justice reform, whether it's taxation, that votes, a small number of votes can really make the difference. And we have to be out there making that difference. We can have an impact. So I do that as well. I had the opportunity to work at the big, I can't think of the name of it, but it was a big gathering to talk about transportation. And we've got a working group now that's thinking, should we try to make transportation free within the city of Cleveland? Should someone who is struggling economically have to worry about how to get to a job interview, how to get to a job, any more than someone who's got
I was just looking at some stuff on the social media in certain places where they didn't develop that, whereas transportation are free.
Yeah, because the thought is that transportation should be like education or going to a library. You don't have to pay for books to broaden your mind. You shouldn't have to pay for the transportation to get there. So people are thinking about that. There are a lot of Clevelanders that understand we can do better in this city. We can and we must.
Thank you, Gina. I really appreciate it. Your appearance has been very insightful and enlightening, and I thank you for that.